And we now welcome in Kentucky head coach Mark Pope. And Mark, welcome. The last 12 months have obviously been a memorable one for you. You've become the head coach of your alma mater. Has it felt more like real life or like a movie?
It's both. It goes back and forth every single second. You lose yourself in the grind of every second of every day. And then also, it hits you all the time that, I get to have the best job in all of basketball. That's just, that's pretty incredible.
If your life was a movie, who would play Mark Pope?
I don't know. I feel sad for whoever that would have to be, man. That would be a really discouraging. If you got plugged in my role, that would be, I don't know.
Well, we'll wait and see, obviously, what transpires if your life is ever made into a movie. But I'm curious, you held your alma mater always in such reverence, but now you've had a full season to go through the experience of being Kentucky's head coach. What is the biggest thing that you know now about being Kentucky's head coach that you didn't know prior to taking the job?
There's not a lot. This is. I think I had a really good sense of what this was before I got here. It's a one of one. It's the greatest fan base, the most demanding, the most keyed in fan base, maybe in all of sports.
Yes.
It feels like everybody in BBN knows what I'm doing before I even do it on a daily basis, and it is the greatest gift, certainly of my professional career, to be able to be here and serve these people and try and lead this group.
Well, obviously you had, great tutelage before you became the Kentucky's head coach. You had a great run at Utah Valley, a great run at BYU. You led the Cougars to a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament out of the Big 12. But I'm curious, from a coaching perspective, what's the biggest difference in you now as a coach versus when you coached your last game at BYU?
Man, you are stumping me. I was on a red eye last night, so I'm not thinking really good. The biggest difference, I think that hopefully we're all growing at an amazing clip. I think my reverence for this game and what we're experiencing in college basketball right now, we're in the most dynamic period ever in the history of college basketball, and in some ways, the path forward continues to get murkier and murkier. And so I think where we are is I think we're getting bolder and bolder as we push forward. You see all these changes, and it's just this field that's ripe full of opportunity, and we're trying to seize on it every single moment.
What is it like to be a head coach in this climate?
I love it, actually. Because it tests you in every way. It challenges you in every way. You're taking in data and information at such an amazing clip, and you have to model so many different possible scenarios. As we kind of sit here waiting on this settlement to kind of get some verdict on the settlement, you could see the trajectory of college athletics and college basketball going in a dozen different directions. You kind of got to model out all of those in scenarios that fit your program and your university. And so the challenge involved in that is never ending. And it's, like I said, it's full of opportunity.
Well, you obviously have to be nimble in this climate, like you said, and that's what I want to get into right now, because a year ago you took over Kentucky's program and the roster was barren, but you put together a roster and you put a team together that played with incredible rhythm and chemistry throughout the entire season. How did you accomplish that with a group that had never played together previously?
Well, there are real advantages to recruiting out of the portal. There's constraints for sure, and there's the scary part of it. But there are real advantages in terms of you get to see players, all of their data, all of their film, all of their experience, all of their media interactions, all of their social interactions, all their interactions with a fan base, all those things come into play. And you actually get to evaluate players based on all of that data. And we're very, very much hyperbolically pushed toward the edge in a pro style of play. So the guys that we're looking for that fit us, they're a little bit of a specific niche group. And so it actually makes it really fun and challenging. And I think part of the reason why is because why we had the success we did with a completely revamped roster last year. In fact, we were a first and only one in a number of statistical success categories last year with a totally revamped roster. I think a lot of the reason was because we were able to take in all that data, first and foremost, about what type of people these were. The guys I got to coach last year, John, like these are guys that all of us would be proud to call our sons, man.
Right.
They're incredible young men. And they adopted this place and embraced it and wore this jersey with such tremendous pride. And so when you start from a pace like that, and then you get to kind of cherry pick the specific skill sets that work with you, it was actually a wonderful project, and our guys came through in a big way.
Well, I'm curious, though, when you and your staff are together, I know that you said there's so much data at your fingertips when you're putting together a roster, but what is the philosophy when you do put together a roster and you're not just acquiring talent, but rather you're trying to piece together a team?
Yep. So we have some core values that are really important to us. Ability to shoot the ball is really important to us. Ability to be a decider on the floor at every single position. We covet guys that are able to make reads on the floor. We really value bigs that are elite level passers where we can invert the offense and run it through them. We really covet guys that can communicate on the defensive end. And one of the things that we really look for in our players is their ability to communicate in real time. The very first time we talk to them, that's something we talk about as a staff. Those are some of the key factors for us that we look for in every player we recruit here to the University of Kentucky.
And you need, obviously, the attributes to be at a high level to navigate, obviously, your schedule, especially in last year's SEC, a conference that sent a record 14 teams to the NCAA tournament. Mark, what was it like to coach in that league?
It was the greatest experience of my basketball coaching career by far. Last year I was really blessed to coach in the Big 12, BYU's first year in the Big 12, and that was an incredible experience. And it was a great league. I don't think college basketball has ever seen a league like we saw last year in the SEC. Not just 14 teams in, but 7 teams in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I used to brag about my 96 team.
Yeah.
That the league was so good. We had 4 teams in the Sweet 16 and 2 teams in the Final Four. We had double that almost. And that it was just, in fact, unfortunately for us, we got run out of the NCAA tournament by another SEC team. And it just was, it's what you live for as a competitor, is to be in a league like that. Hopefully we'll run it back bigger and better next year as a league, because it just is. The venues are incredible. The fan bases are incredible. The coaches are really humbling to go against these guys. And it was, I'll treasure that experience last year forever.
Now, you took Kentucky to the Sweet 16, as you referenced. You lost to a very good Tennessee team. But for you as a coach, I know this was your first job at a blue blood program, but it was also the first time that you took a team to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Coaches have always told me, and I know that the goal at Kentucky is always to win the national championship and go to the Final Four, but coaches have always told me that when you get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament and you win multiple games, the feeling about a season changes. As you internally look back on last season, how did it feel differently because you were able to get to that second weekend of March Madness?
Well, I think, it's so when you lose in the first weekend, it makes your NCAA tournament experience just so short, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just is so short. And when you get to extend through the off days of a second weekend, it builds momentum, and you get to share it with your fan base, and you get to dig in as a program. So all those things are real. But like you said, there's actually only one outcome that's acceptable here at Kentucky, and that's what we're chasing.
Mark, what are your initial thoughts on the team that you're going to coach during the 25-26 season?
I'm so excited, man. I can't even tell you. Like, I'm out of my mind excited about this group. I'm so excited about our returners. The thought of actually having some continuity where when we step on the practice floor for the first time in mid-June, that we're going to have some guys that know our terminology, know what we do, and not just some guys, but some elite level veteran talent. And then this influx of new guys. We just had a bunch of guys on campus last weekend that are newcomers, and to see them together with our new guys, just how they interact off the court, which is such a huge part of being a basketball player here at the University of Kentucky. Man, I left that weekend feeling more excited than ever about actually getting this group fully together. I think it's got a chance to be an incredibly special group.
Well, it's interesting. You first brought up the returning guys, and I could hear it in your voice when, you brought up their obviously return and the excitement that comes with that. We live in an era right now where so much attention is obviously on the portal and the commitments and obviously all that comes with it, the graphics, the videos. But when you really study the highest levels of college basketball, the teams that retain are the most successful teams. Why was retention such a big part of your offseason plan at Kentucky?
Well, like you said, I think it's a key to being success. And there's nothing like getting older with your own guys, right? Yeah. And the second thing is traditionally, my guys' second year take a massive leap because, we're such a read-based offense and in parts defense, where our guys are the deciders on the floor. They're not looking over at me. We coach them to be capable of making decisions on the court. So they spend very little time looking over me. We coach them to coach each other and communicate with each other. And so with a year under your belt, now you're coming in not to learn the game or do the game, but you come in actually starting to play the game and trick up the game and use all these actions and manipulate them in creative ways. And that's where the game gets incredibly fun. So these second-year guys are going to be really key for us.
Which second-year players specifically in your system do you anticipate will make a major jump during the 25-26 season?
Yeah, I think all of them. I think Brandon Garrison, man, he's shown even in this young offseason, he is hungry right now. He's a McDonald's All-American who had an unbelievable first year at Oklahoma State as a freshman, and then clearly took a massive jump forward last year. And I think he's ready to emerge as a superstar, and he understands how huge this summer is for him. He's really focused. He's got a very precise agenda, things he's working on. Mm-hmm. And I know he's really hungry. I expect Colin Chandler to take a massive jump. He showed huge strides in the last month of the season, and he's got limitless capacity to be really special. And this Trent Noah, I'm telling you, this Trent Noah is a baller, okay? He is a big-time basketball player. He's going to bring over the next seasons, he's going to bring some incredible physicality and skill and toughness that's going to make everybody here proud. Otega is going through this draft process, and we're cheering for him every step of the way. But I know a lot of his heart is back here at Kentucky. And if he does return, he'll probably return as the presumptive, SEC Player of the Year favorite. And clearly he's got a beautiful future ahead of him. It's a good group.
Yeah, that's obviously a great nucleus to bring back to Kentucky next season. But let's get to the newcomers for a second. You added Jaden Quaintance out of the transfer portal from Arizona State. Your initial thoughts on what he's going to be able to add to obviously the pivot alongside Brandon Garrison, who you just mentioned.
Yeah, we're really excited about Jaden. In fact, I was just with him yesterday. And he is a hulking mass of physicality and the greatest kid you're ever going to meet in your life. He's already posturing to crush me in chess. He claims he's a novice chess player, but I'm a little nervous. I'm not telling you. I'm actually doing some online chess, trying to prep myself. But he's a difference maker. You think about a 16-year-old that's a double guy in the Big 12. That's insane. And he's a really impressive young man. So we're looking forward to getting him back. He's been incredibly diligent about his rehab. He's dealing with some incredible doctors, and we're working really hard to make this transition of care this continuity of care is going to be really important for him. But he's going to race back and get healthy and strong as soon as he can, and he'll be a big part of our deal.
Well, you mentioned obviously Jaden Quaintance' health. He suffered a torn ACL in the early part of this year. Is there any timetable, obviously, for when you think he'll be fully cleared?
This is Colin Chandler right now. You want me to put him on?
You can put on Colin Chandler, sure.
He's on FaceTime. Hold on. Let's see. Colin.
What's up, Coach?
You're on FaceTime with the great. You're on a live podcast with the great Jon Rothstein right now.
We're talking breakout players, Colin. You're on the list.
We were just bragging about you, man. Did you?
Oh, really?
John, are we live or is this recorded? Are we allowed to say that?
Well, we were going to plug it as live, but we can say recorded. That's fine. You're blowing up our spot, Mark.
Sorry, my bad. Colin, you must have been listening.
Come on, Coach.
All right. You know what I love about Colin Chandler?
Tell
Every
me.
time I talk to this dude, he's in the gym working out, man.
I see it. Yeah, he's
That's
definitely a
cool,
breakout
baby.
guy next year.
All right. Hey, I'm going to call you back.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, brother. Okay, bye.
Kentucky basketball never stops. But, Mark, if I can just follow up on Jaden Quaintance, I know that he tore his ACL in the early part of this year. Is there any timetable for when you anticipate he'll be fully cleared to go?
Yeah, we're in a full rush. The one thing about him is when I say full rush, we're going to rush back to 100% complete health. And so, we're optimistic that we're going to have really, really good results in the fall. We'll see how that goes. But, we're going to rush him back to get to 100% healthy before we roll him out on this court.
Now, defensively last year at Arizona State, his instincts, his timing were elite for a freshman. I'm curious, you've played in the NBA, you've played at the highest levels of college basketball. If there was one player, past or present, that Jaden Quaintance most reminded you of, who would it be?
Well, so, I'm just in his physical appearance, I'm going to go, and he was a former teammate of mine. But if you remember the great Dale Davis.
Yes.
I got to play with, in my rookie year, Dale and Antonio, the Davis boys. They're not brothers, but Dale and Antonio Davis. But Dale Davis he was an elite level shot blocker, an incredible athlete, could really run the floor, was going to punish you at the rim. And he had a presence about him that just screamed intimidation. And Jaden has unbelievable timing. He's incredibly mobile. He's actually got some real skill putting the ball on the floor offensively. I think he's destined to be a star.
Yeah, and he will obviously be a focal point at Rupp Arena when he is healthy, but so will the point guard for next year's Kentucky team, Jalen Lowe, who obviously if anybody's watched the ACC and watched Pitt, they know what he can do in terms of his craftiness and setting the table. What do you anticipate from the Wildcats' future point guard?
Yeah, I'm excited to get him here and hyper speed his game. We're going to really unleash him and push him to play with as much pace as he possibly can. And he's going to be he's so athletic. He's got such a herky jerky nature to his game, or he's got this. He's like an elite level tailback that can cut, like his cuts, could be a 270 degree, like on a dime cut, change direction. And he's going to be he proved to do everything at Pitt. He was an elite level scorer. He's incredible at getting to the free throw line. He was almost 6 assists a game. I think he had a real presence on the ball. Is almost a 3.0 turnover percentage guy. He's got a complete package. He's also got a great leadership ability. Having him here on campus, it was fun because you have these new guys on campus and you're kind of out to dinner. And he was the guy that was instigating a lot of the conversation, which is exactly what we need him to be. I think he's going to be an elite level leader. He's got a huge future in this game, and he's going to come do it in Kentucky jersey and join this legacy of incredible point guards that have played here.
Well, and the legacy, too, for Kentucky's program is players that have won at the highest level. And another guard that you're adding won at the highest level this year. He was a part of the national championship team at Florida, and Denzel Aberdeen. He's somebody who you competed with in the SEC. I'm curious, when he became available, how much easier was it to make an evaluation because you went against him this year?
There was no evaluation.
Yeah.
So my evaluation came in the 2 weeks that we were trying to do like background prep and then prep for our game against Florida, which was it was the first game of the SEC season. And so I had some familiarity with their team, but as I dug more and more to the film, I'm like, this cat coming off the bench is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And he certainly proved it throughout the course of the season. He is just, the fun part of the research for us was actually getting to know him as a person. He's special, special, special. He's got a great joy about him. He's got a passion and commitment. He is determined to continue his journey towards becoming a great basketball player. He's proven with what he did in this 4-guard rotation at Florida that he is a team-first guy. And he's going to have it's hard to have a breakout season after you just won a national championship, but he's going to have a big-time breakout season.
And another player that you added, I actually covered, I did sidelines for his games during the NCAA tournament, is Mo Diabate from Alabama, who never lost a 50-50 play all last season. He was one of the great intangible players in the sport. How do you see him fitting in the Mark Pope formula for Kentucky next season?
Man, I'm so excited about Mo. Mo, like I want to talk about him as a person first. He's an incredible young man, incredibly faithful. He's got his family. He's got just the most awesome family. They grew up in Queens and all the things that are surrounded with that, with a big family. He has so much love for his family. It was incredible to watch him with his dad here. Like, it was really special to actually watch him take care of his dad while he was here. So I love every bit of him there. The more I talked to him on the phone, the more I fell in love with his human being. He's really special that way. And then, he punished us. I don't like to say it, but man, he punished us 3 straight games this season. It was not a happy time for us. He shot the ball at a ridiculous clip on low volume. He's a 46% 3-point shooter on low volume. But where he was most dangerous, clearly he's an elite level defender, 1 through 5, very much a Draymond Green field defensively. But this is a young man, his ball screen derived offense on limited possessions, just less than 20 possessions. His ball screen derived offense is in the top 2% in the country as the pick and roll ball handler. His decision making and his ability there is terrifying. It's joyful for me as a coach, terrifying for the opponent. But he is a guy that can really stir the drink for us. And the way we invert the game, and we have our bigs carrying such a load as decision makers on offense, he is tailor-made for what we do. And then he's got these big shoulders that he just rams through your chest. His physicality is elite, both on the offense and defense end. So he's a gamer.
You've referenced, obviously, the inverted offense that you play multiple times in this chat. I'm curious, who taught Mark Pope how to coach offense?
Well, I didn't know this. I got here my path was really circuitous to get here, and the game has evolved so much. But you know what? When I was a player here at Kentucky, we were. This is what we did. We got into it a little bit different, but it was always the bigs ending up in the possession a little bit lifted, and so this is in part. 30 years ago, Coach Pitino's kind of genius towards the game. And then certainly as the game's evolved, this is a place where a lot of us are spending a lot of time.
Mark obviously was a memorable first year at Kentucky. And, I know that you held such a reverence for Rupp Arena. You wore suit and ties. Your staff wore suit and ties. And I know that you are always moving forward in recruiting on everything that's on your plate. But I'm curious, did you ever this year during a game, either walking out to the floor or during a media timeout, just look around and say, you know what, my life has come full circle. I'm coaching Kentucky at Rupp Arena.
Yeah, one of the things that we really try and encourage our players do, and our staff, I'll remind the staff all the time too, is just like, guys, just take a look around for 1 second. Don't miss this. And that's in the games at Rupp Arena. That's when we're on campus. That's when we're out in the community interaction with fans. Nobody gets to do this. I'll never forget watching Jasper Johnson walk out onto the court of Rupp Arena this year, and the place going crazy. So excited about him coming. Malachi Moreno, who is like going to be a game changer here. This, we're so like it is 24/7 madness here. It's everything you could imagine. And so you do have to remind yourself to just take a look, man, take it in. And our fan base helps us do that. John, I've told this story a lot. I'll share this story with you. But it's archetypal for what happens every day. It was the second to last home game. It was after the radio show. I'm out signing autographs. This is an hour after the game. There's still 4,000 or 5,000 people that stay and listen to the radio show. And I'm signing an autograph for a gentleman. He's probably in his 50s or maybe early 60s.
Yeah.
Right off the court. And he's like, Coach, would it be okay if I just stepped up onto the court? He took one step up onto the court on the sideline. Tears started coming out, just streaming down his face. And you have to take that in. This is Kentucky. It just means so much. So we remind ourselves to do that all the time.
How deep can this team be?
We can do it. We can get it done. Now, there's a lot of teams that can get it done, but if we do this right with the right guys, we can get this done, and that's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. That's the standard here, and nothing less is acceptable.
But in terms of the rotation, how many guys do you think you're going to be able to play this year?
I'd like to play them all.
Okay.
So I have 12 guys right now. So I have 12 guys that come help us. We're actually going to try and round out this roster. I'm actually scouring the planet right now for guys that would fit in as maybe a redshirt guy that would kill it in practice, or maybe a last year of your career guy that wants to come here and put on this one-of-one jersey and be a part of this. So we need to add a couple more pieces, but right now we have our roster that's gonna own the minutes on this floor, and we have all the pieces.
All right, I'm old enough to remember when you used to call me when you were at BYU and you'd say, John, we need games. We got to build an NCAA tournament resume. And now I'm looking at what you have on the docket. You're in the ACC SEC Challenge. You're obviously going to play at Louisville. You're going to play Gonzaga and Nashville. You got Indiana at Rupp. You got the Champions Classic. You got the CBS Sports Classic. Is there anything else of significance on Kentucky's non-conference schedule for 25-26?
Maybe.
Can we get more than a maybe?
I can't. So my SID came in here and said, you are not allowed to talk about schedule. So I'm handcuffed, bro. I can't.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's a pretty great slate right there, but we'll wrap on this, and it's maybe most important. I saw when I was at your practice last year how you still, despite how busy you are, you're always balancing your team, Kentucky, and your family. Where's the Pope vacation spot this summer?
We haven't actually worked that out yet. We're still negotiating. We're still negotiating the time, and once we get the time, we'll figure out the place. But it'll be great.
Mark, I appreciate a couple minutes. Know how busy you are. Congratulations on a great first year, and as always, look forward to staying connected along the way.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you, brother.